Hi again. I'd like to talk a little about WordPress, and in the last couple of videos we set up a basic WordPress theme, defined a couple basic styles, and imported this unsemantic grid. So let's talk a little more about the grid. Okay, so in the last example I applied the grid to the header. Okay, so just this area here. So essentially I have two columns here. One of them is 33% wide, and then this one right here is 66%. So essentially they're, 2/3, 1/3 and 2/3. And I like this, but what I'd like to do is I'd like to make the background black, right, or dark, right? And then I'd make the text color light. Okay, so let's do it. Let's do a couple examples with that, right? So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to add a dark class to the div container here, which is my box that holds these two elements, right? It's got the grid container class on it also. And what I'll do next is I'll switch to my style sheet, and I'll define the dark class as, background color of something dark gray, and a text color of like a light gray. Okay, so there we go. Let's save that and refresh it here in the browser. And then of course, like, it doesn't show up. Let's take a quick look here. Got the dark class there. Maybe I didn't save. Oh yeah, I didn't save this file. Let's save this one also, right? And then we'll refresh it. Oh, there we go. So that looks pretty good. I actually want this dark area to go all the way to the outside, right? So, but otherwise it looks good. I'm getting the right colors, right? So my problem here is that if I put the dark class on the grid container has a width, right? So it sets the full width here from this edge to this edge right here, and and that kind of reins in your content and contains the content. But if you want something to go outside that, what do? Well, what you're going to do is you're going to wrap the grid container in another div. So here's a div here, right? And then I'll put a closing one around the bottom of the header, okay? And you have to decide whether this list of pages should be inside here or not. Like, you might want to actually include that inside the grid container here, right? So this would be the closing tag for grid container here, right? And then what I want to do is I want to move the dark class from here and place it on the other outer div, right? So now this outer div, since it's not inside the grid container and it doesn't have any classes that limit its width, it'll expand to fill the entire browser, okay? It'll just go edge to edge, okay? And then maybe I'll mark this with a comment here just so we know that this is the dark div. Right, there we go. So let's save that, and we'll refresh it here. Why does it always do that to me? I don't know what's going on there. There we go, right? So now I have my dark gray box, it goes all the way to the edges. If you have a little bit of white around the edge there, about 8 pixels worth, you have margin on the body tag that you need to remove. And I had actually already typed that in here, so let me point that out, right? I set margin body 0, right? If you had a reset style sheet, that would have gotten rid of it too. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Maybe we'll do another one. Another one here. So maybe I want to do the same effect on the footer. Okay, we'll treat this area in the middle differently. Okay, but for the footer, let's do that right now. Okay, so switching back to my document here, I'll scroll to the bottom, I'll find the footer. Here it is, right? It says footer. And what I'll do, and we'll just reprise what we did before, is we'll make a div for the container. And then I'll need another div outside for the outer container that's going to expand to fill the browser, right? So, so this is going to go edge to edge, right? So this outer one, maybe I'll use the same class. You could do a different class, but I'll just use the same one here to save some time. So I'll call that guy the dark one. And then this inner one is going to be class grid container. And then inside here, this is all of my content, you know, and you could use multiple grids in here. Like you could use multiple grid elements to divide this up into columns and in any, you know, arrangement you want. But since I just kind of have a single line here, it's probably good if I create a div for this to contain it, and then give it a grid class. And in my case, since it's just a single line and it's going to take up the whole width, why don't I make it grid 100, right? And then that way this will be 100% of the grid container, okay? So, so let's take a look at our footer now. We'll refresh it here. Oh, look, there's my footer, and it's got the dark background with the light color. And it goes with my header up at the top here, okay? And, you know, and we could work with this some more, like it probably needs a little bit of extra margin or padding or something, but, you know, you could add that in, but that gets you started on the grid, okay? And I'll continue. I got a few more things to say about this too, so maybe we'll do that in another video.